you're good. Hi.
Hey,
I'm glad we're together. I mean, we're not together.
finally. Well, we're together but apart.
Life got busy. Life got away from us.
Very
Let's
busy.
be real.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But we're here, and Jacob brought something up at church yesterday, wanting to talk about love, and I think it is very necessary and needed. So, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we'll.
Well, and the understanding of it is the main part.
Right.
So, because it's like I feel like we don't understand it, so then we act out according to what we understand. So either
I
based off
see
of
that.
feelings or uh, like acting like angry or mad or but so yeah, so like I said, when I was telling you, I was thinking like that. This is what I was thinking of. I just couldn't think of the verse at the time, but it was First Corinthians 13, where it basically starts off that, which I'm going to paraphrase a lot of it, but it starts off basically stating that where is it? Hold on.
Verse 4. It's First Corinthians,
No,
verse
no,
4. Oh, are you
yeah,
going
that's the
higher up?
main part. But well, I was gonna just give some like of the first few little parts of it, basically where it
Mhm.
says like if you didn't have love and like basically it's like if you speak all the languages of everything and you don't have love, you're just like a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal.
Right.
And then like if you understood all of basically if you had all knowledge uh, and you didn't love others, you would, like I said, you would be nothing, you would have nothing. So without
Well, and
love we are nothing,
so
we
that's
have nothing.
so that's starting at the top of chapter 13 in
Yeah,
First Corinthians. And my one of my favorite lines in that whole first opening couple of sentences is um I have all like though I have all faith so that I can remove mountains but have not love, I am nothing.
yeah,
Like you could have all the miracles and stuff and still if you're not loving, like
yeah. Yeah, because mine's NLT is what I'm using
mhm,
actually right now too, just so you know.
gotcha.
But
Okay.
like, I like said, we're basically it's like, even if you were basically like said, it says if I gave everything the and have to the if I gave everything I have to the poor and even sacrificed my body, I could boast about it. But if I did not love others, I would gain nothing. So
Right.
basically, there too, it kind of goes back to the whole obedience over sacrifice too.
Right, right. Well, and in the NLT it says, but have not if and though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, but have not love, it profits me nothing. So gain, profit,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
can be
So you get
translated either way,
yeah,
but like you're still getting nothing out of it. So
yeah,
I was thinking we'd call this episode what is love? Like
yeah.
I think of the 80s song What is love?
Oh,
But
I don't.
like
My brain always goes to where is the love?
oh, by the Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah, but then
Yep.
again, it's like when you think about that like in a context of like putting it towards yourself. So like, where
Mhm.
is it? It's like it should be coming from you. If you don't see it around you,
Mhm.
why is it not, why is the love not coming from you? Why are you not being loved?
I see
You know?
that. Yeah.
So it's kind of, yeah,
So is that your main question for like the episode is like if you're supposed to be love and you don't see it, why are you not being the love?
well, kind of, but it's like, I don't know, it's more of the understanding of love.
Okay.
Because, like, here, we'll just read 4 through 7, and then I'll talk about kind of like what my thought process and
Yeah.
stuff was.
Let's
So
do
it
it.
says, so this basically, because obviously in other parts, it basically states that God is love.
Mhm.
So if we don't understand love, how do we understand God? Or how do we understand,
The
any of
fundamentals of
it?
who God
Yeah,
is.
yeah, basically. So in 4, it starts and it says, love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wronged. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, and is always hopeful and endures through every circumstance. And then we'll just go ahead and read 8, but it says, prophecy and speaking in unknown languages and special knowledge will become useless, but love will last forever. So, but in all this, my thought is, it says, love is not jealous or boastful or rude. It's like, then why are we rude? Unless we don't truly understand love, or like, where basically it says, love does not seek its own. In, I think it's the New King James that says that. It says, love does not seek its own. So why are we like then selfish? Because that would mean we're seeking our own, or like where it says it's patient and kind, why are we always ticked off and,
Right.
not kind? Like we're always irritable and mad, and, like, or like I said, we're proud and, boasting about things, or like I said. And the other thing is it keeps no record of being wrong. So why then, if we understand love and we obviously have it written out for us, it's like, why then does something happen, and then later on down the line do we bring it back up, like a few years later, like, oh hey, you did this, or oh hey, this happened, when that person could be sincere and be like wanting to change and be trying to be, better, or,
Right.
however you want to put it, then why would we bring that back up?
Right.
Because love keeps no account of suffered wrong, so
Right.
why do we?
That's a really good question.
It's like,
I think in our human nature it's like that. I don't want to call it fight or flight, right? But
yeah,
it's
yeah,
that like it's that memory of like if I don't remember what this person did, I'll get hurt the
it
same
hurt
way again,
again.
right?
Yeah,
Like
but
that's and
but
I
then
know
when you
that's human
think,
nature.
yeah, but it's like, it's because we're taught from a wrong place. It's like, because if we're not being taught by the word, we're being taught by the world,
True.
and there's not really any in between. It's like there's either truth or it's not truth. It's like, although the truth can get twisted, which is what obviously what Satan tried to do to Jesus when he was out in the wilderness, and he
Mhm.
tempted him in all ways, which literally would be all ways. It says all.
Right.
So it's like, although, like I said, the truth can be twisted and we can misunderstand what it's stating, it's like, it it's it's one of those to where, though, it's like, if it's not the truth, we're learning it from, if we're not learning it from the truth, we're learning it from somewhere else.
That's right.
So like, because it's what we were born into, which, like, nobody had to teach you to be mad.
Nope.
Nobody has to teach you to be, ticked
Selfish.
off, to be, well, yeah, selfish, like all about me. Like children, first things they learn is mine, me, no, like mine. It's like, and it's selfish. And like I said, it's like nobody teaches you how to be angry. It's like that's what you're born into. It's like,
Right.
and it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like the understanding of love, because if we're to be love, it's like, then if somebody's, mean to us or mad at us, it's like it doesn't produce sin in our lives, because we just let it go, and we
Mhm.
tend to, then we're not irritable, and then we have, uh, abundant joy and everything else,
Mhm.
because it's like it never bothers us, bogs us down, makes us weary of well doing, which we shouldn't get that way. And if we were to
Right.
truly understand like love and becoming love,
Right.
it's like, then we would. And the other kicker is, it's like I said, with like Jesus, he set the example. He was fully man,
Yep.
empowered by God. So it's like, you never once heard him say, well, if they hit me one more time, or like, when he's going to the cross, it's like, that was love. Like when he's on the cross and he's like, forgive them, they know not what they do. It's like, that was love. It's like, because perfect love never fails.
Right.
And so, like Dan Moeller, one of the videos I watched of him, he said one of the craziest things. He said, if perfect love never fails, then why do we fail to love?
Oof.
And that's just kind of hit pretty hard, because it's like, why don't we? Like, why do we let those things bother us and get to us, and mess us up? Or, let it take precedence. Let's put it that way. Let it take precedence over God in our lives. Because we let those things dictate how we act, what we do, and how we
Right.
respond. Because to me, how we respond in a situation is what we believe.
Yeah.
So it shows what you truly believe when you respond to something either happening to you or somebody being angry to you. If you just act out in anger, then it's like obviously that's what you believe and that's what you know
Right.
and that's what you know how to do. It's like instead of it being, from a good place, it
Mm-hmm.
comes from a bad place.
I get that.
So, but yeah, this is basically like I said, what I wanted to touch on. Because, like I said, if you notice, like I said, throughout all of like Jesus's teaching and stuff, it was all basically on love, like how to, like he never grew weary of healing people. It's like he
Right.
never stopped. He never denied anybody. He never told anybody to, get more faith. It's like, yet
Right.
we tend to tell people that, which is completely crazy to me to think of
Right.
where that even came from. But because it's like, too, it's like, do we believe? Because it says these signs will follow those that believe, and it's, healing the sick, casting out demons. So why, when we pray, do we doubt? Because if we believe, it should happen. It doesn't matter if it happens right then and there and like that minute.
Right.
It'll happen though if we
Right.
if we believe.
Right.
So
I
I feel like
so
I'm just kind of getting off now,
no,
but
no, 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 you're not. I think what we run into, and this is just from like my own struggles with not having my miraculous healing, right? Like
oh
with
yeah,
my own thing. I think we are either super firm believers, like in the miraculous, right?
yeah,
I feel like the Western Church falls into the category of you are you are a super firm believer in the miraculous, like you believe you can pick up a snake, get bit, and be fine,
oh
or
right,
or you fall into the camp of like, well, that's a really good philosophy.
right, yeah, and I can
I
see
don't
that.
I don't feel like there's ever like it equates to if you didn't get your healing a lot of times in Western culture, if you didn't get your healing when they prayed for you, that you didn't believe
Well,
hard enough.
well, not just that. I feel like it comes down to like they think you always have to have an answer. Why can't the
Yeah,
answer just be
not right now.
God? Like, or
Right.
like not even not right now. What if it can't just be like, well, I'm believing. Well, I'm
Yes.
still gonna
Oh,
have
I have
faith
hope,
because
right?
it's like if you like what if that's not what if we just call that faith and it's not faith, like
Well,
what if we're calling unbelief faith is what I feel like, because it's like when we don't see it and it doesn't happen, we tend
right.
to give an answer, try to come up with something to make people
Mhm.
feel good instead of just being like, either I don't know or I'm still believing this. It's like no, and then doubt creeps up, and instead of standing firm on what you believe and what you
Mhm.
know, then we tend to falter, because it's like
Yep.
obviously it's like the devil knows like how people are. They want to save their own life. It's like
Right.
that's why it says to
Well,
love your own life not unto death. It's like look at Job. Job never gave up, yet
Job is my
he
favorite.
literally was, like I said, he was literally like the devil knew how typically most people acted. If Jesus is, benefiting them and doing everything for them, they're great. But when he's not, they're not okay.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh yeah.
like we should, be on a page to where it's like we don't base if we're okay on, anything other than Christ. Because
Right.
like I said, like with this, like with love, it's like it keeps no record of being wronged. Like
Mm,
it's not irritable. It's like it doesn't rejoice in injustice. It's like, so
right.
when somebody's wronged, it's like it's not proud that they're wronged.
Right.
It's like, because what bigger injustice can happen than Christ being crucified. All he did was speak the truth and heal people. It's like you
Yeah.
ever hear him like it sounds goofy, but when you start to think about it, it makes a lot of sense. But when you like try to put words, so like let's say Jesus was to get irritable or was to get mad, and he was like, oh, Barabbas was the last straw. It's like he killed a man. He's over here
Right.
creating conspiracies, and all I did was heal people. And he's like, all I
Right.
did was speak truth. It's like, him walking up there and throwing down the cross, being like, well, I'm just not gonna do this. It's like, what in the world am I doing right now? It's like, but that's how we
Right.
act. So why do we not put like how we act on like Jesus and see if it makes sense?
Because
Because
if
it
it doesn't, then
seems
it's
it
not.
seems ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah, because it
Well,
seems ridiculous. So then you start to see it. You're like, wait. So then it'd be ridiculous for me to do these things
yep.
because if he's the example, then maybe we should follow
Be
his
following that.
example. Yeah, like right.
Well, and
And
I
then like
think,
I said, and then that's where like I said, you get the abundant joy and everything from because it's like you're not basing being okay on what other people are doing to you
right.
or like what they think about you. You're basing it off of what Christ thinks about you and what he calls you to be and like,
Right.
you know,
No, I get it. I I like what Rachel Pearson pointed out, like going to the crushing place yesterday.
yeah, yeah.
And being like when Jesus went to the of Gethsemane, he was showing that like in the midst of that hard thing, the crushing
Yeah.
place, to like sit down and say, not my will but yours. And last Sunday
Yeah.
she talked about us calling things good that Jesus wouldn't, and us calling things
Yeah.
bad that Jesus would call
You could call
good,
good.
right?
Yeah.
And like asking the Holy Spirit to show us. And the thing is like, if He is my example, right? Like the Bible
Yeah,
tells
yeah.
me that He is my example in all things, He was tested in all things. We believe that the Bible is the infallible word of God, right? Like, if the Bible tells me that He was tested in that, why am I so uncomfortable loving people? Why am I so uncomfortable letting go when someone says something hateful about my husband, right? Or
Yeah,
about
right. Yeah.
whoever in my life, or something happens with a customer
Well,
that
yeah.
I'm
Well,
like,
because well, like I said, and then the other side, I feel like that's where it comes to where like the rubber meets the road, and it's like in those situations, people will start to see that, and they'll be like, "Hey, something's different."
yep,
Like that's a life lived. It's like when they start seeing, they're like, "Okay, what's changed?" Like
right.
you used to be angry all the time, or you used to get
Mm-hmm.
mad. Like
Yeah,
what's changed? It's like what's going on? Like, and it's just the understanding because it says we'll be destroyed for our lack of knowledge or a lack of understanding, one or
yeah.
the other.
I think it's lack of knowledge, but
Yeah. So it's one of those to where it's like because we don't understand, that's why we fail so much, I feel
right,
like. And it's like
right.
we don't grasp the whole love concept because if we don't have it, so to me, it's like 4 through 7, if that's not how we're living, do we have love? Like do
Right,
we are we understanding and do we have it? Or is it just meaningless? Like is everything we're doing just meaningless? Because
right.
too it comes down to like love as in like too like if you buy a gift for somebody and then you get mad because they don't like the gift, it's like was the gift for them or was it for you? And
Right.
typically it's because you want to get praise for the gift. It's weird once you start to see it like that, but it's like
But it's true.
but it
So
makes
it's
sense and it opens your eyes to it once you realize it's weird that it's like you just wanted the praise, you wanted them to dote over you and be like, oh, thank you so much, you're a great
right.
person, you're so awesome. And it's like that's from a very bad selfish place that you bought that
Yeah.
gift. It's like it didn't come from a good place thinking, oh, hey, maybe they'll like this or maybe they just want this. And then they don't like it. And you're like, oh, hey, next time, I'll get something different. Like
Do
I'll,
something different.
try to find you something better. Yeah. Like I'll try to find something you actually want. My bad. It's like, I didn't realize.
Right.
So it's like, I feel like that, like I said, it's where the rubber meets the road and where it shows.
Yeah. Oh, for
And that's
sure.
where then it comes down to like a life lived. It's like instead of us constantly being ticked off and aggravated and you know quick to
Yeah.
anger and not to
Mm-hmm.
listen instead of you know instead of quick to listen and slow to speak,
That's in James,
or
isn't it
however,
in
yeah, or
James?
however it says it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it
Oh, hold on. I
is
have it
in
right here.
James
It's
somewhere,
James.
but
I know it. Hold on.
I have it highlighted, but it's on my phone,
Where's in the
and
book
I'm
of
using my
James?
phone.
It's So it's James 1:19 through 20. And it says, "So then, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath, for the wrath of man does not produce righteousness of God." So, like,
Yeah,
that's another blueprint, right? Of like, I
yeah,
am not slow to speak. I'm going to be like, I'm going to lay it all out bare for everyone here. I am not slow to
yeah.
speak.
Quick,
My,
quick to anger and quick to spout back.
like,
Like,
I'm going to come, it's going to come out of me.
yeah,
And then I get into First John, and I was talking to you about this before we hit record, where
yeah.
in First John 4:12, where it says, "No one has seen God at any time. If we love one another, God abides in us, and His love has been perfected in us." I have a different translation here that says, "No one has ever seen God, but if we
Yeah.
love one another, God lives in us, and His love is made complete in us." So if
Yeah.
the only and I love this thought process, and I've heard it several times, several different ways, but like, you're probably the only Jesus a lot of people are going to see.
Yeah,
And
because it's our
like,
sphere of influence.
because it's our sphere of influence. And if you are not loving, like, the brand that you're putting out there of Jesus changes, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
so I'll use my husband as an example. He has an uncle who is super rough. Would have never known that he, like, from the outside you would not know until you talk to him. And then he has this passion for Jesus that, like, he shows love. He shows
Yeah.
it in a way that, like, he's he can reach bikers and men who've been in prison and
Oh,
stuff
well, yeah.
because of the way he loves. He's been allowed into areas that, like, you or I would
Yeah, not
not
be
be able
allowed to
to get
go
into,
into. Yeah.
right? But he loves them in a way that they trust him. They want to know what's different about this man. And like,
Yeah.
so when I think of like showing love to people to share the gospel, he is like, is he perfect? No, no one
Yeah.
is. But like,
Yeah.
he is kind of that, well, I want to be like that. Like, I want to be
Oh,
approachable
yeah.
in a way that someone that maybe couldn't walk up to a priest could walk up
Oh,
to
all
me and be
right.
like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you're different. Like, you are
Yeah. Or,
you're
hey, what,
different."
yeah. But then
Right.
I think it also comes to the point too, to where it's like, why don't we step out? Like, why don't we
Ooh,
talk to people? Why don't we?
that's
Because it's like if we love people, and we quote unquote love them, why would we allow them to walk in that? Why would we not share the good news
right.
of
Right.
Jesus? Like, not even like the
Right.
whole heaven aspect, but just the good news of, understanding love, to where it's like you're not burdened by everything around you,
Right.
and, like constantly burdened by the world, telling you this is how you should be and this is how you shouldn't be, and having the world teach you morals and,
Right.
and ethics and everything else. It's like,
I didn't ask you to come spill my tea all over this thing, okay? Like, the
just,
stepping out question.
well, no, trust me. Well, I've kind of been in that area to where it's like I feel like I should step out, but then it's like, obviously it's like when you have fear, it's like anything that you have fear over controls you, and people don't understand that aspect of it either. So perfect love casts out all fear.
Mhm.
So then we should not be afraid to step out, because
No.
if God is love and He's with us, it's like, then we should not be afraid to step out. It's like, because nothing should be able to harm us at that point. That's kind of like too, where like you were like, pick up a snake and it won't
Right.
kill you if it bites you, kind of thing. It's not like a literal sense of like,
Right.
oh, I'm gonna eat this cyanide and then just die. It's like, because that falls into the whole testing God. It's like eating something that's like possibly known to give you cancer, and you just
Right.
eat it not knowing. It's like, and it doesn't affect you. Maybe that's what it's getting at. Like, maybe it's getting
Right.
at something that could potentially harm you, and you not knowing, and then you being okay.
Yeah.
in the end. It's like not knowing something could kill you. It's just testing it, being like, oh look,
Right.
I'm gonna die. And croaking. It's like, but
Oh, I I think the thing like so in First John up in 3, um
hold on, let me turn that first. You said three.
it's First John 3 and 16 is where I'm starting.
Okay.
And again, I'm in the New King James, so I'm sorry if you're listening to
Oh
this and
no, no,
like
no.
you don't
Yeah.
read this version. I'm just attached to it right now.
Hey,
ADHD.
it's a pretty good version.
So it says, "By this we know love, because he laid down his life for us, and we also ought to lay down our own lives for the brethren. But whoever has this world's goods and sees his brother in need and shuts up his heart from him, how does the love of God abide in him? My little children, let us not love in word or in tongue, but in deed and in truth. And by this we know that we are of the truth, and shall assure our hearts before him. For if our heart condemns us, God is greater than our heart and knows all things. Beloved, if our heart does not condemn us, we have confidence toward God. Whatever we ask, we receive from him, because we keep his commandments and do those right things that are pleasing in his sight. And this is his commandment, that we should believe on the name of his Son, Jesus Christ, and love one another as he gave us commandment. And I think a lot of people drop the part where Jesus is like, they ask him, what is the greatest commandment? He's like, isn't it like, he says, the honor your parents. And then I think he brings up, love your neighbor as yourself. And
Yeah,
like,
I want to say I don't remember where it's at exactly, but yeah, it's along those lines. But yes, he says love your neighbor as yourself. But if we don't love ourselves, then how can we love our neighbor?
how can we love our neighbor?
And
Right.
that's the thing I feel like we fall into a lot of the times too, is because we get to a place to where we're not okay, so we're not in a good place to love our neighbor.
Right. I
Because
can see that.
like I said, if we don't understand love and we don't love ourselves, or we don't find ourselves wholly blameless and above reproach, it's like then we fall into not loving our neighbor.
That above reproach just pricked a part of my heart that I'm like, ooh, there's stuff, right? Like, there's stuff. Your mic is off.
I know, give me 1 second.
Okay.
But no, sorry.
You're
But
okay.
yeah, no, so like that, it's like, because if we don't believe those things, then it's like, how are we to, like, to believe any of the rest of it? It's like,
Right. Right.
how
Well,
are we
and
supposed to come boldly before him? It's like,
I think I'm trying to like, the Holy Spirit is like, I told you yesterday, he's dealing with a lot of stuff in my own heart of like the stepping out place and like going down deep where the flow is, right? And like,
yeah,
I those verses that I just read in First John 3, um we also ought to lay down our lives for the brethren. So like, there are people who like I'm super tight with that I am more than willing to like, right, I will lay down whatever I'm doing to come and save you, like you are my friend, blah blah blah. But like a complete stranger, I drive past people all the time on the corner.
oh
You
yeah,
know, living in Joplin, like we have a homeless situation, homelessness,
oh yeah, no,
massive
yeah,
homelessness situation. And on literally every corner where there's a stoplight, there are people asking for whatever, right?
yeah, for
And
food, money, anything.
so there was actually one at the corner on our way home in where we live. And first one I've ever seen, because we don't live in Joplin, right? Like, we live out
No,
of
yeah,
Joplin.
yeah,
And we're like on the corner, and I didn't even look up from my phone. Like, I did not even pick my eyes up. I was like sitting there.
yeah,
And Davey just looks at me and he goes, "Well, it's got to be getting cold for that guy." And I said, "What guy?" And Davey goes, "There's a guy standing on the corner with a sign." And I am so calloused to it now, which
Yeah,
sounds
yeah.
so disgusting. Like and even
Sounds
saying it
bad,
out
yeah.
loud makes me sound like, but I've seen so many people that I have taken this stance of like, well, I don't want to offer help because I don't know how they're going to use it. But that's selfish,
Right.
right? Like I
Yeah,
should
yeah.
not be asking how they're using my help that I give them. If I give them
Yeah.
a bottle of water, or if I give them a $5 bill or whatever, like
Yeah, yeah.
I get that we also have a drug problem around here. Like we won't
Well,
sugarcoat
yeah.
it. Like our whole family's been touched by that. But like, who am I, right? Who am I to say yes or no, they don't deserve help, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
I literally like was reading in Job the other day because I had a friend message me and I got in this place where I was like, well, I know what you need to do. I know exactly what you need to
R-
do. And
Right.
I was reminded back to Job where God like finally responds to Job and God's like, "Where were you when I hung the Pleiades and hung Orion's belt? Where were you when I set the storehouses of snow and hail up?" And I'm like reading this and I'm like,
Yeah.
I was not there when he set the foundations of the world.
Right.
I have no idea where the snow and hail are stored. Like, I have no idea.
Right.
No
Yeah.
idea. I have no idea. I have no idea where the doors to the depths are that he closed when the waters burst forth, right? Like,
Right.
putting that in perspective, I have no right to look at that person and be like, they are undeserving of prayer or undeserving of the gospel or undeserving of an ounce of my
Yeah.
time, right?
It's
Like,
yeah, and I feel like
I'm not
that
loving
comes to
them
well, it comes down to us giving them value based off of what we believe or like how,
but they're created in God's
how we
image.
see
That should be
people.
valuable.
Yeah, but we don't see people that way. We
Uh-uh.
give them value, so value is then considered relative to most people because most
Right.
people can see you valuable one day and see you as a hindrance the next or like a
True.
a problem. It's like depending on how you act and what you do, it's like typically people are like, "Oh, you're valuable because you can help me," but when you can't help them, you're not valuable anymore, and that's not
Yeah.
how it should be because we should all have the same value.
Right.
We
That's
were all
right.
bought with the same price. It's
We were all
like
bought with the same price. The
with
the
the
same
cross,
the
it's like
same
that's the same
contract.
price for everybody
The same
was the
contract was signed
cross.
for
Like,
everyone. Yep.
yeah, it was the same price. Like I said, the price was paid. Like the lashes, the nails, the thorns. It's like all of it, same price for each and every person.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't see it that way. We don't
Nope,
see
we don't.
people that way because, like I
Well,
said,
and
I feel like we don't understand love, and that's why. Because even when he was on the cross, like I said, he said, "Forgive them; they know not what they do." Instead of getting mad and like, if they hit me one more time or oh, they spit on me one more time, I'm coming down off
right,
this cross. Like,
right. I so I guess I'll just pose the question because I know that someone's probably going to ask it somewhere if anyone even listens to this episode. But so how would you say that we need to start um, one loving ourselves, right? So then that we can love our neighbor better. Like
I would
how,
say just trying to come to an understanding of what love is and how you see love.
mm-hmm,
Because if we understand that we see it wrong, because obviously the first step in problem solving is acknowledging a problem.
right,
Like there's no other way around it. So if you don't ever feel or see that you're not like loving correctly or loving the way you feel like you should be, so you're never gonna get to that place.
right, right.
And then obviously, I feel like obviously getting into the word because it's
Yeah.
like,
What
how
Jesus
else
is
are
your
you
blueprint,
supposed to
right?
know? Yeah, like how else are you supposed to know and understand if we're not getting
In
into
the
the
word.
word and like,
Right.
and not just getting into the word, but getting into the word and like having a relationship, like alone time or like
Right.
the secret place,
Right.
like
Well, and I'll even go so far as to like understanding when people say get into the secret place, what that entails. You know what I'm saying? Because like it's super
right,
easy to be like, go set you up a closet, but like on top of setting up like a prayer closet or an area for you to like be alone with your word.
Yeah.
You also have to like no phone,
Oh, well,
like, or
yeah. Well,
like
I
no
mean, it
distractions,
depends.
you know,
Any,
like
yeah, I was gonna say, typically anything that would distract you and get you
Facebook
sidetracked.
or TikTok.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I feel like that would definitely, you know, wind up playing a big part.
Right.
It's
And then
like,
I think so. I know for me, like when I start having a cynical view of people around me or of the world around me, I need to take a heart, like I need to dig deep and see, like, am I really seeking the relationship that I claim that I'm seeking, right? Because
yeah,
it's really really easy for me to say, okay, Jesus, just scooch over a little bit and let me get up here on this pedestal so that I can look at these people and give them my wit, when in reality, like, it should be
yeah,
his
and then
wisdom
it's
anyway.
just, yeah. Well, not just that. It's like then it becomes like judgmental, and it becomes like said from a a judging aspect when
Yep,
we're not called to judge people.
right,
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
it's
And
like,
that's not love.
and no, no, obviously not. Because the other thing too, oh, I was gonna say, I don't even remember now. I had something and I completely
I'm
blanked
sorry, I
on it.
distracted you.
No, you're fine. I don't. Oh no, what I was gonna say was like Christian. It means like Christ-like ones, and I think it was Antioch where they were first called Christians, and like I
Hmm.
said, it stood for little Christ-like ones. So it's like Christian should not just be a title people carry, and it's like Christian doesn't just mote you a blanket of good merit. Like it doesn't just make you perfect just because you claim to be something. It's like people have titles all the time. It shouldn't be a title. It should be how other people view you.
Right. That's
Is
a
what I
great.
feel like. Like as in like said like in that instance where like said where it literally meant Christ-like ones. It was like little Christ-like ones. So it should just be reflected in our lives, not us having to claim a title and state, this
Right.
is who we are. So,
No, I get it.
but
Like, I think we, I think we run into conditional love.
oh yeah, because it's all we're really taught from when we're raised up.
Like, I will do this thing for you, but you're going to do this thing for me because I did that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like, I cannot give to you unless you're giving back to me. And I think I'll just use me as an example. This year, we've been practicing giving to people who genuinely need the help. That was a boundary we had to set. But to people who
yeah,
probably aren't ever going to be able to repay the favors or the things that we've done, right? Without question, we just go take care of it. And I,
move really fast.
yeah, you're fine. I, and I don't say that because I want praise, because I shouldn't have even brought it up, honestly. But like, I have learned so much though about like my own heart, right? And
Yeah,
about like the thought that I can love you. Like, I can love you in a way that no one else has to see. No one else has to know that I'm
right.
doing this thing or that I'm loving you in this way. And like, the fulfillment that I've had from just being like, okay, yep, this thing we're just gonna do it. Like, we're just gonna
Yeah,
do the thing. And if no one takes pictures, if no one sees it, if no one records, if no one knows that we have done, like, we've been over backwards and done this thing, cool. If they find out, whatever.
yeah,
But like, we're gonna be there. Like, we're gonna be there. Um my heart is learning like what that unconditional, like, there's no conditions to
yeah.
what we're
No
doing.
strings attached.
Like,
Yeah,
these people that we've been helping genuinely need the help, and like the
yeah,
joy that I get from seeing their faces is more than enough for me, right? Like,
yeah.
more than
And
enough.
And like I said, it should come down to where it's like you're not helping somebody so that way they can help you later on down the line. It
Right.
should, like I said, it should be an
Right.
unconditional thing, like you said, where it's like you help them just because they need the help.
Yep.
It's
Well, and
like,
Davy is like the epitome of that, right? Like
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
learning so much from my super young in the heart Christian husband, like of go over, do this really hard thing, come home and know that like there's not going to be like a big old fanfare for the thing that you did, or
yeah,
there's
yeah,
not going to be like a big old check for the hard work you just put in. But at the end of the day, like he knows he can say, I did that thing. Like I did the thing
yeah, yeah.
that the Holy Spirit told me to do. And watching him step out. And there are even times where I'm like, why are we doing this? Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. And he's like, I just feel like I need to take care of this thing. Okay. Okay. Like, I trust you.
Yeah, yeah.
Learning that from him because he has such an unpolluted view. Like, when I say
Well,
young
no,
Christian,
yeah.
I mean like unpolluted, like was not raised in a religious home,
No,
like
yeah.
all of the things. And you know, Davy, straight up,
No,
like
yeah.
he is a great man, and all of the things in him that make him great are specifically Holy Spirit things. Like
Well, yeah.
there was no forced religion or
No,
forced
yeah, yeah.
religiosity. That's my word, religiosity, of like you have to do this thing, A, B, C, and D thing. Like
Yeah, yeah.
learning, watching him from my perspective of someone who grew up in church and like saw all the things, watching him have this like, well, why do I have to do that? Like the Holy Spirit tells me this, so I'm going to do this. Like watching him not
Yeah,
have
yeah.
that polluted view has been mind blowing for me because when he loves, like he loves, like that's just who he is.
No, yeah.
Does he have a problem like I have a problem with like, oh, you've burned the bridge, like it's done? Yeah, but I think that's a Holy Spirit workout thing. But like to watch him
Yeah.
literally give of himself even when he's worked countless hours, and like someone will call and say, hey, I'm so sorry to bother you, I literally just need you to come look at my car, and watch him drop everything so that they can at least like get where they're going, or hey, can you come look at this thing for me? Like he is epitomizing that unconditional love of like I'm going to do this thing even though you're probably never going to come over and have to put my car in park on the motor. Like you're never going
Oh,
to
all right.
no
No,
one's ever going to
yeah.
have to do that for him, right? Like
No,
he's
yeah.
not going to he's not going to call you and be like, okay, Jacob, so I came and helped you when your flywheel went out, so now you
Oh,
have to
no,
come help
I
me
know.
with my fly. Like he's never going to do that to
No, I
you.
know.
And I
Yeah.
think for me it's that unpolluted, like he says he hates people. My husband loves people in a way because his love language is acts of service. It's very like, I'm going to come run fences for you. I'm
Oh,
going to
no, yeah.
come move your car. I'm going to come help you move. I'm going to come and sit with your kids while you record a podcast with your sister. Like, it's things like that that
No, yeah,
he
yeah.
does that you're like, hey, I want to be like, I want to be more like that, where someone asks and I say, yeah, I'm willing to go help you. Like, I'm willing to be there. And
No, yeah, I
I don't
get
know,
that.
it's love like that that like I guess in my mind doesn't make sense, you know?
Yeah,
And
but
I
it
have
also
a
too,
sometimes I have a hard time. Go ahead.
yeah. No, what I was gonna say is it also too comes down to, like I said earlier, it's like obedience over sacrifice. So instead of
Oh
just
yeah.
constantly doing stuff for others, and I'm not saying that's what's happening. I'm just saying like in instances where people constantly go out and help people and they like sacrifice their time or they sacrifice money to help people, it's like it's not always great if it's not, like I said, if you're doing it and hurting yourself in the process,
Well,
or like
you'll
wasting
get
your
burnt
own
out,
time. Yeah,
right?
yeah, because you're like
Doing it
said,
out of
because in
your own
that,
will.
yeah, well, and not just that, to me, it's like pouring from your cup
Yeah,
instead of doing
that's
it
what I
from
meant.
the overflow. Yeah. So it's like, obviously, it's like if you feel like you should help somebody, then obviously, yeah, then that's kind of the thing, like pray about it. Because I think his name's Michael Jr. He talks about obedience over sacrifice a lot. He's a comedian, but he talks about it a
Hmm.
lot because like he talks about like going to Starbucks, and he was like he would get up to Starbucks and they would be like, "Oh man, you're like the 20th person in line that they paid for somebody's coffee." And he's like, "You know what I did? It's like I sat there, said a little prayer, didn't hear anything, said thank you, grabbed my coffee and drove off." And he's like, and the reason why is because the only person that literally made any sort of sacrifice was the first person. You were already going to go spend money on coffee, so you're not out anything. The only person that was out any money was the first person who bought their coffee and somebody else's. That's it.
Yep. Yep.
Everybody else was already going to spend that money. So they literally just sacrificed that money, and it wasn't out of obedience. It was just out of the fact that, like, oh, somebody did it
Somebody
for
else
me,
did
so
it.
I'm going to
Right.
pass it on. Like,
Right.
instead of doing it from a good place, or like what he was doing was like, if he prayed and he felt like he should pay for the next person's coffee, then that's what he would have done. So it comes down to, like I said, where it's like instead of just sacrificing, we do it out of obedience.
Yep.
So that way it comes from a place of love instead of a
Oh yeah,
place
for
of, like
sure.
said, pouring from our own cup and then eventually just pouring our cup dry. It's
Right.
like instead of doing it from our overflow to where it's like we should never go dry.
Right.
It's like, because like Dan always points out, he's like, if somebody's drinking from your cup, they're too close. Like you're gonna go dry if they're drinking from your
Right.
cup. It's like
Right.
they shouldn't be getting that close.
Right.
There should be enough of, Christ coming in and flowing out that it's like they never get to that point, because
Right.
then that's when or like you drinking from a dry cup. So somebody that's not having anything put in, it's like then you're constantly going to be bad, because it's like, let's say like a parent doesn't tell you they love you or something, that's drinking from a dry cup. Like you're trying
Yep.
to get attention and affection from them
Yep.
instead of understanding that you're okay because of who God called you to be, and understanding that
Right.
you have value based on Christ, not based on how your parents feel about you.
True. Good point. Valid point.
Or like I said, other people around you anyway, not
Right.
just parents. But a
Right.
lot of the time people seek parent validation over, most everything else, or like validation from friends and things like that. And it's like, if you need their validation to be okay, you are not okay. Like,
Right.
if you need somebody else to validate you for you to be fine with who you are and what you're doing, you're not okay. Like, you will never be okay, because the minute they say something wrong, you will be crushed,
Yep. It'll crush you to death. To death.
basically. I mean, you'll either, what is it, say the stone will fall on you, or you'll fall on the stone, or something along those lines.
Yep. Yep. I know what you're talking about. I this whole talk about love, I keep thinking back to that Hyper Fenton song where he's like, I want a love that's just like Jesus. And I don't think when I've listened to that song that I've actually like listened, like paid attention to how deep that lyric is. Because
Oh,
like
yeah.
if I want a love that's just like Jesus, that means I'm sacrificing everything, right?
Yeah,
And like,
right?
and
Like,
at the end of the day, am I really
yeah.
wanting a love that's just like Jesus, or am I just singing that because it's fun?
Yeah, right. Because, like I said, and not just like necessarily the sacrificing everything, it's more like not taking anything personal.
Yep, which is super hard.
Because it's like, obviously it's like when Jesus went away by himself and everything else, and then he came back, it's like everything that happened to him he never took personally.
Right.
You never see him, like sitting on the Mount of Olives, throwing a fit or like bummed out, and Peter's over here like, oh, what's wrong, Jesus, like coming up to him. It's like, well, you just wouldn't understand.
just
It's
that
like,
just that that just
it's like,
that like visual in my head because of the way that I imagine it is so ridiculous. To have
right? But
Peter
we
like
do
walk up
those
like,
things.
oh, we do. Oh,
It's
I
like,
do.
oh, are you okay? It's like, but it never became something personal.
Right.
It never, you know, got past the fact that it's like he just loved them unconditionally. Like I said, he cared for them. He cared for, obviously he cared for everybody, so much so that it's like people state that they were like, they're like, oh, he could have came down from that cross. I don't think he could have. I don't think, like, power wise and, like, possibility, like, yeah, but perfect love never fails, so he would have never failed to go to that cross. Like, he would have never stepped down. So I don't think he ever could have stepped down from the cross
Right.
because
He
he's
was
perfect
perfect.
love. Like, he was perfect love. Like, he knew what was going to happen. Because when they talk about, like, it was for the joy set before him, we're that joy. Like, people
Yep.
don't comprehend that either. We're the joy. That's
Right.
why he went to the
Right.
cross, because he knew what it would do for us.
Right.
Because he was looking past, being beaten, being hung on the cross. It's like he was looking past all of that.
Hmm.
And like I said, it didn't take any of it personally. Like, he was even saying, forgive them. They know not what they do. Like,
Right.
why are we not in that boat? Because, like, when people do things to us, it's like it's out of their own understanding. It's out of worldly standards
Hmm.
that they do those things.
Oh, I get that. Ooh,
So
this stuff's like, it's so, it's good, right? But it's so
yeah,
beefy that like there's so much to like chew over, and I
it's
think
like
the Bible
it's
says
just,
like chewing the cud like a cow. Like,
we're just sticking the knife in and twisting.
thank you. It's great.
That's how it works. Yeah, we're
Oh, I
lopping off
just,
limbs,
so well, and the dead stuff's got to
getting
go, right?
pruning.
Like
Yeah, it's the pruning.
you had brought up earlier, the love doesn't keep a record of wrongs, right? And you and I have talked about how just I had this visual of like dragging this dead body around. Like I had had several
Yeah,
dreams of like
yeah,
me personally just like dragging this dead body around, and everybody's like, Sarah, that stinks. And I'm like, no, you have no idea what this is. Like, it's fine. I have to have it. And the Holy Spirit's like, yeah,
yeah.
no, girl, like that's gross, girl. Like, no, like it's time.
Right, like,
Time to
put it down.
bury that thing and be done. And the minute that I was able to be like, yeah, I'm not going to drag that. I'm literally not going to drag that corpse around with me anymore. Like, I'm not going to do it. My life changed, right? Like
Oh well, yeah,
part of that was tied to like my porn addiction and all of that jazz of like, yeah, no, I'm not going to drag that gross thing around anymore. That's still really hard to not like turn around and be like, hey, it's not the same corpse, it's a different one, but can I pull it with me
yeah.
too? And the
Well,
Holy Spirit's like,
it,
hey, girl.
yeah. Well, it comes back to, like, like the rock, where it says the rock will be put in your way and you'll trip. Like,
Yep.
you trip over it. Well, it's like eventually you get to the point where you start to
See the
see the
rock.
rock and you're like, why am I tripping over this? It's like
I
it's
saw that
here. Why
rock
don't I just
2.5 miles away.
Yeah, it's like, why don't I just walk around it? Or you get to a
Right.
point to where once you start to realize, but the other kicker is if you do trip over it, it's like instead of staying down there and staying in that bad place, it's like, and wallowing, it's like you have to get back up and continue to go, because
Right.
that's the whole point. It wants you to stop in your walk, because it's called a race for a reason. It's like,
Right.
so if you're on the ground, you're not running your race. It's
Nope.
like,
No, you're not.
literally, it's just to keep you trapped in fear. And like I said, that's why it claims that you have no guilt, shame, or condemnation
Yep.
in it, so that way we can believe those things and not let those things, because the instant something like that comes against you, that's the first thing you feel is guilt. It's like, then you feel
True.
ashamed of yourself, and it's like these things come up to try to hold you back.
I like it. It's good stuff,
But
man. It's really good stuff. Did you
Just a
have anything
crushing.
else you wanted to say?
No. Well, when you mentioned like the crushing, all I could think of is when like how Dan points out, he's like when you crush an orange, you get orange juice, right? Like
Hmm.
that's just how it is. It'd be weird if it was anything else. It's
Well,
odd.
when you
Like
crush an
if
olive,
you
you get
crush an
olive oil.
well, yeah, well, like I said, if you like, let's say you crush an orange, grape juice doesn't come out, we'd be freaking out. Like that would be crazy, right? Like
That would be
that's
insane.
not a thing. So it's like, so when a Christian gets into that crushing place, why is Christ not coming out?
Ooh,
It's like, why is it not weird that everything else is
right,
coming out instead of Christ?
right.
Why is it not so? Why is it not like the orange making grape juice? Why is it not that same type of scenario where it's like, that's not right? Like, it's not okay.
That's a very valid point.
But,
Sorry, I had to make a note of
no,
that.
you're good. But, yeah,
Ooh, that was a good one. Goodness sakes alive.
but, but
Yeah,
I think that
that.
is everything.
You
Maybe,
think that's everything?
maybe, hopefully. Till
Well,
next time.
I'll be in prayer about loving the way I'm supposed to love. I hope you will too.
Right.
We're really,
Oh,
really
yeah.
glad that you guys got to join us. We're really glad that we actually got to do this. We thought we weren't going to, and then I was like,
Yeah.
wait, we can remote this.
Yeah, right.
So, thank you guys for coming and listening to us
Oh, yeah.
talk. We appreciate it.
Definitely.
Definitely. See ya.
Peace out.
Peace out.